Today we're going to go over how I was able to fund my very first flip project without actually having to use any of my own capital, and this was really the thing that opened up my eyes and helped me realize there's so many different ways that you can actually make money without having to make your own money. Now, I was of the understanding and of the belief originally that you have to make money, you have to have money to make money. And I think that could not be further from the truth. I think if you have capital, it's going to make potentially your life easier, but it's a misconception. There's so many people out there and so many entrepreneurs that have realized you don't actually have to have money to make money. You just need a good idea and to execute on that idea. Now, all it is a mindset shift. And today I'm here to tell you what's actually possible, because I've personally done this myself. As I mentioned, it was my first official house flip project, and I was actually able to make over what my yearly salary was as a Sparky on this one particular flip project that literally took us 1 month to renovate, completely gutting the inside and the outside and putting it back together on that one deal. Literally a month's work. A month later, the house settled and the money was in the bank. And that also really opened up my eyes to what's possible, because in, let's say, 2 months worth of work, I was able to replace over a full year's salary from one flip project without using any of my own money. That was the penny drop moment. It was absolutely crazy. So I'm going to go into how I actually done it now. So in this particular situation, my first official project. Now, I actually went in to buy this property. I was planning to buy this property. So I wasn't originally planning on going down this other creative financing route. Now, the way I was going to do it. So I'd done a letter campaign in a particular pocket, a particular suburb or stack of suburbs that I was looking to secure my first flip project in. And the phone rang one day. So the natural process, the phone rings, you book an appointment, and I went for an inspection to actually look at the house and go through what needed to be done. So we went through that process. I met the seller on site, built some rapport, got to know his situation, worked out what needed to actually be done to the property to renovate it, fix it up and repair it and get it back market ready. And then I went home and done the numbers. So after doing the numbers, I worked out what I could sell it for, renovated conservatively, worked all the numbers back, and then I could actually go into the negotiation the next day with a confident offer that was going to actually work for me, that was hopefully going to work for the seller as well. So the negotiations the next day went back and forth a little bit, and unfortunately we weren't able to come to an agreement on price. What I was able to offer was too low for what he was willing to accept. Naturally, a lot of people at this point would have just walked away. They would have got to this point and thought, fuck, like, he's not going to accept my offer. I've tried everything. We've tried working out a solution, but it's price. That's where his mind's at. I haven't been able to convince him otherwise, and I just got to walk away and go to the next one and keep waiting for the phone to ring. So naturally, that's what most people would have done. But the great thing about educating yourself and learning about these different creative financing strategies is you can actually create a scenario and a solution where, number one, you don't actually have to front up the capital to buy the property. And secondly, you can potentially do it with little or no money and still flip this house and make the same amount of money without actually having to go through the finance route, without having to go through that whole process. So once we got to that position where I found his rock bottom number, I went to my absolute max that I could offer to make it work to purchase a property. I run through this other scenario with him. Just a quick disclaimer on this topic as well. This is not financial advice. What I'm about to run you through with this creative financing strategy, definitely go and get some advice from professionals to walk you through this whole process. I'm purely speaking on how I went about it and what worked for me and how we were able to actually structure this so that it was going to create a win-win scenario for both the seller and myself. So in this scenario, I went to my max, he went to his max or his lowest point, and I basically proposed this to him. I said, there's another option, Mr. Seller, okay? There is another option. Because I have to pay all these entry costs to come in and buy this property, that's the only reason why I can only offer you this amount. I'd love to be able to offer you more, but I can't because the numbers just don't make sense. I've gone to my absolute peak. But in this other alternative option, we can actually still go through this process. The only difference is the property stays in your name. Now, in Australia, we have this lovely thing called stamp duty, which means as soon as the property goes from one name to another name or transfers titles, you have to pay stamp duty. Now, I mean, it might be different if it's from a family member to another family member, but in terms of a random person buying a property from another random person, you have to pay stamp duty. The government stings you on that. So I have to pay stamp duty. When I actually buy the property and settle on it, I'm going to have to pay holding costs to an investor, and it just eats away a lot of the capital there. So in this scenario, if we can come to an agreement, I can actually offer you some more money. I can offer you a little bit more than what I can offer you right now to buy it if we work together. So the way that happens is the property stays in your name, Mr. Seller. I come in, we get an agreement drawn up, a joint venture agreement through a solicitor. So it's all done above board. All the terms are outlined on there, and basically we'll go through the process. I'll come in, renovate the house. I'll pay for the renovations. I'll pay for any legal costs that come up, and I'll even pay for the sale costs at the end of it when we sell this house together. So because of that, I can offer you a little bit more money. I can offer you maybe an extra 20 grand more, 30 grand more to make this work. So in this scenario, for my first one, I basically proposed that to the seller, and he was really interested in that. Now, he wasn't going to commit to it until I suggested towards the end of it, I said, I'll offer you this number, and if the property sells over this price, which I sort of done my numbers on 550 as a sale price, I said, if the property goes over this price, anything above that, we'll split 50-50. So that way he knew that it was going to be a win-win scenario. So he was guaranteed to get a certain price, and if it sold above that 550 once it was fully renovated, he was going to get extra profit on top of that. So and he wasn't going to have to pay any selling costs. So that made it very enticing for the seller. One thing I will note here is a joint venture can literally be any terms that two people agree on, any terms that two or more people or parties agree on. So you just have to be creative with this. I used that strategy, and it got it over the line. It meant I was able to get in there, renovate the property, build up my own experience, and make some really, really good money, literally life-changing money for me and my partner, my missus. And the incredible part was I didn't actually have to put any of my own capital into it, which is even more insane. I got a money partner to invest and pay for the renovation and the legal costs. And I just paid him a high interest rate once the property had settled. Probably got caught up in a bit of the weeds of it there, but just to give you an example of how I was able to make and exceed my yearly salary as a Sparky in give or take 2 months worth of work, like that was absolutely life-changing for us and absolutely blew myself and my partner away to see, like, you can literally go through this whole process and make life-changing money, and you don't actually have to put any of your own capital in. So in conclusion, I truly believe mindset is one of the biggest determining factors in this particular situation on whether you think you can or whether you think you can't go through this process. My mindset originally was you have to have lots of capital to be able to flip houses and make money. But this other strategy completely changed my mind and completely changed my viewpoint on how you can actually do it and how you can actually make it work. So, would I recommend it? Absolutely. I think there's definitely some legal things that you need to speak to a licensed solicitor or conveyancer about, like probably a property solicitor as well, ideally, just to make sure that you're covering all bases, because there is risk involved in this particular process. And I'm not here to put you under the illusion that it's completely risk free and it's always smooth sailing, but it worked extremely well for me, and I'm very grateful that I decided to go down that path, because I was able to flip a house when I had very little capital myself to invest, make some money, and then the next flip project, like the only reason why I got a money partner to invest and fund that one was because I was so keen to quit my job, and I wanted, like, if another flip project came up, I wanted to have money there to be able to use that money to get the next one. So the first one, I put down zero of my own dollars, flipped it, made 98K. And then not long after, because I held on to my own money that I had ready to invest, I was able to use that towards the next one. And then that really put the fuel on the fire and got the cogs turning. And that actually got me into a position where I was able to quit my job literally after about 4 or so months of doing this process. So look, we'll go into that, how I quit my job and how I went through that process in another video. But just to open up your eyes, hopefully that at least gives you some insight and shows you that you can actually go through this whole process and flip a house and make literally 6 figures or under, depending on how good the deal is, working with a seller and not actually having to buy the property. So hopefully you get some insight from this. I've made a few other videos that might be of use, talking about some key renovations that I go through to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. I've also made some videos talking about my story. So if any of those are of any interest to you, please go and have a look at those videos. Leave any comments if you got any questions. I'll do my best to reach out to you and respond, and hopefully give you guys as much free value as I can, and get you out there and hopefully find your first deal, flip it, make some life-changing money, and yeah, get you on track to move into the career that you actually want to be in. So hopefully I've provided some value. Please subscribe to the channel too. It's going to really help me grow it. Like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.